Hello and welcome to Fintech Focus TV with me, Toby. Today I am absolutely delighted to bring you Richard Crook from DASL. Richard, how are you?
Yeah, good afternoon. Lovely to be here.
Likewise. Thank you so much for coming onto the show. Look, we've had a little chat beforehand and you guys are doing some really interesting things in the subject place and subject matter that everyone's talking about at the moment. I'm sure there's no accident and purely by design that you're in a space that seems to be the hype moment of 2021 and beyond. We'll get into loads and loads of context about that later on. But before we do that, tell me a little bit about your background, if you will, and what you guys are doing over at DASL.
No problem at all. So I'm Richard Crook. I was the former head of emerging technologies at Royal Bank of Scotland. I spent 20 years in the investment banks, and my team and I stepped out of Royal Bank of Scotland, NatWest now, because we could see the ICO bubble coming through, and that bubble, although it burst, showed everyone that there was a new way of raising capital. And actually, the securities market was about to start going through yet another revolution. And the securities market, or capital markets, continues to be revolutionary. And this is no different. There's another one coming through. This is where we're digitizing the securities. And from that perspective, we set out to build a piece of software, something we call DASL, which is an adaptable solution for the future of financial services. It helps our clients bring to market their digital asset vision, be it a cryptocurrency, an NFT, or actually some sort of digital security.
You're right about those sort of waves, aren't you? I mean, there's a lot to be said about the bravery of what you were talking about there. You know, working for RBS, Bank of Scotland, there's obviously a lot of security in the position you were holding over there. The ICO bubble bursting, as it were, there was so much hype around that, and there's so many different people who are running at that, and all sorts of chaos that went around that sort of space, that then led to people moving away from it as quickly as they ran towards it, and a number of the failures that came through from that. Did you feel it was a bold move moving into that? What gave you the confidence to run when others run at it when others were running away from it, and what gave you the confidence to know that this next wave and the adoption that we've seen recently has come into that? I find that fascinating.
So our focus has always been on the securities market. And for those that are trying to make a quick buck or duck dive or weave the regulation, that's not very interesting to us. Our best clients are those that are regulated. They are looking to create a security, be it debt or equity, and they're looking for a solution and the confidence of a team that has been building mission critical financial systems for a long time. And that's where, from our perspective, we could see that actually there was going to be an initial, and there continues to be in the crypto space, lots of waves of excitement. But actually, the real prize for us has been private securities, and for us, that has always been the size of the prize, and we focused on that all the way through this.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's sort of sticking to an area which you believe in and building around that. And look, innovation's been at the core of what you've been doing. We've seen a lot of traction around the sort of crypto bridge you built for Zinfin. And you turned sort of Corda into a hybrid network. Tell us more about it, how it works, what you're doing with that, and what the motivation behind all that is.
Yeah, so from our perspective, Digital Asset Shared Ledger, or DASL, has a crypto bridge. It's one of the core features of that. It's there as a piece of software to make blockchain easier. A lot of people who are growing up on different networks, be it Corda, Ethereum, Zinfin, and they are looking for a piece of software that will actually evolve with these networks, so that they're not endlessly having to upgrade as the networks upgrade. And one of the things we built was a crypto bridge, which provides that elusive interoperability between these leading public blockchains. And in this case, we've been working with one of our great clients, Zinfin. They run the XDC network, and they wanted to bridge XDC network into the Corda network and the public Corda network. And we worked and have been working with them very successfully to create that interconnect. And again, this is one of these great examples of using DASL to work across multiple blockchains.
And that sort of ability to do that, where did the idea and the thought process come from? When I've been speaking to people over the last couple of years, you're usually speaking to people who are frustrated with the system and see an opportunity to make things better and think, right, I can do that myself. Talk to me about that sort of option. Did you see the problem first, or did the problem did the product evolve to the problem?
Oh, as always with this, there is an iterative game between market and product. I would say that certainly with this type of market, because it is evolving so rapidly, you build a product in the hope that the market will come to you, which is a tremendously risky adventure. And in actual fact, we've been gently pleased that we've stayed ahead of the market in terms of the functionality. As long as we stay ahead, we're able to delight our clients who come to us, who are asking for things that we've already built, and that then gives them the opportunity to use DASL to solve the problems. And that's how we accelerate to market.
Fascinating, isn't it? And look, you're in a space, as we said, that is much hyped at the moment with some interesting things. You guys are obviously innovating and creating those solutions for people. As alluded to before, cryptocurrencies and DeFi has been talked about for a long, long time. There's been, as we say, numerous hype cycles of its genuine adaptability and to the marketplace. How's it actually impacting right now the securities trading in reality? So
I think what we've been watching is the creation of private currencies. We call them cryptocurrencies because that's the technology underneath them, but they're in a sense a private currency. They're not issued by a state, and that is obviously one form of money. But the bigger forms of money are things like debt and equity, securities. And although we've dematerialized public securities, which is near completion now, it's held in large stock exchanges, CSDs around the world in each jurisdiction. The majority of the $6.5 trillion private security market, so those are shares of Lab 577 or yourselves, those are private. If you wanted to sell your shares, that would be, it remains opaque, inefficient, and illiquid. So the opportunity to digitize those private securities offers an opportunity to digitize the ownership of those trillions of dollars in assets that actually creates a new ecosystem, allowing secondary trading. So some of the benefits of what you expect from an Apple share or an IBM share, which is publicly listed, is now coming into the private shares and debt of private companies, which is tremendous.
Absolutely, and I think that there's staying on the theme of adoption and opportunity within this marketplace, and how this tech has been mooted for a long time to be able to transform the industry and add real value. I remember I'll go back 6 years, maybe 5-6 years. And we held an event, and there was talk about, and it was saying, right, okay, we're way ahead of the curve. Blockchain is going to be mainstream very quickly. This is going to be something that changes the industry. It's going, it's across asset class. We're going to see more and more different, and it's going to be a completely new field. It proved, I think, to be a lot more complicated than people thought. People thought it was going to come there. I remember at one stage, there was a stage where it's going to be mainstream within 10 years. Then it looked suddenly it was accelerating towards 2-3 years. Now it seems to have stagnated a little bit again. People are working out its actual uses and recognise the opportunity, but failing to sort of really bring it into the mainstream. I guess in a similar way to cloud technology, about how long it actually took from the obvious, what seems obvious now, to be adopted, particularly in the financial services sector. But beforehand, I absolutely believe this is something that's going to come through. Sorry to do it, but with blockchain shaping the financial services, is 2022 the year where we see that really coming to the fore?
I think this is a much slower burn, just as you allude to. If we look at how long it took us to go from sort of paper to electronic, that was a multi-decade conversation, and actually, the move to digital securities is again going to be multi-decade. We're now 5 or 6 years in to that conversation, so we're only halfway through the first decade. If we get through the majority of it by the end of this decade, then I think we've done well. It's worth recognizing that we think of Amazon starting in 95 and Google starting in 97, but actually majority of the population weren't on the internet until 2005. These things take a long time, and people forget. They see a hype, they see all the vision. It's worthy of recognizing that all of the big businesses you see now, all the novel new ones like Netflix, were envisaged back in the early 90s. when the internet first kicked off, but the internet wasn't ready to be able to deliver that. And the same is true of blockchain. It's going to take a number of years for the technologies to be able to support some of the business cases that we're hoping to put onto these blockchains.
So what does that mean for so as people sort of continue to probe and investigate and innovate, within it? Yeah, there's a lot of pressure, obviously, to be faster, better, quicker, more effective, support customers more and more. How much time can people actually sort of invest in this? Whilst waiting potentially for another decade for it to be mainstream?
It depends what you're waiting for. If you're waiting for a central bank digital currency, then that is a multi-decade play. The central banks don't move quickly. But what we are seeing is astute financial institutions are offering clients easier access to these private markets using digital securities. They're reducing sort of on average 40% the cost of issuance, post-trade settlement, and the asset servicing. And they're realizing that actually a lot of the benefits they have in the public securities market, they can now deploy on the private securities market. And so some of the platforms, some of the ecosystems that we're seeing spring up, and the NFTs is a really good example. The NFTs is a great space to see the rapid growth because it's not regulated. So they can very rapidly evolve and grow to show what's possible, but there is no reason why you can't create a digital security in the same way you do with an NFT and have it trade, present dividends or a bond yield. And that for us is really what we're looking for, which is the digitalization of the security space.
With digitalization having had so much traction through 2020 and 2021, has that sped things up, do you think? Has that been helpful to the we should obviously separate the two. When a lot of people are still digitizing their front ends, so a lot of the financial services industry still hasn't digitized its offering, moved it over to a website, got it onto an app. So there's tremendous amount of work already on the front end of how you and I interact with these financial services, but that essentially is lipstick on a pig. Also issued pink debit cards, but they haven't improved the back end of the banking system. What we're talking about here is actually improving the back end of the banking system, and actually how do we change how money is moved, how money is traded, how money is priced. That's really what we're interested in. That's also been sped up though, hasn't it? We've seen a lot more innovation, a lot more. You used the word interoperability earlier on, which seems to be very much the mot du jour of the last couple of years. So much more compatibility, so much more appetite, I think, for efficiency that's been in that. Is efficiency what's driving this? Is that what you're saying? Actually,
innovation is. The banks were drowned by a tsunami of regulation in 2008. So the traditional financial services sector is sadly not very innovative and is, as I say, drowned in the regulation. On the other side, the crypto space or DeFi has created a hotbed of innovation, and actually what we are seeing is innovation driving regulators and the traditional finance participants to sit up and recognize that over time these two are going to merge, and you're going to see this hotbed of innovation merging with this conservative, overly regulated traditional finance, and the two will become one over a good number of years.
And look, the natural sort of I guess fear / question about that is, the regulation isn't something that is eluded at various different stages. Said it beforehand as well that the lack of regulation has allowed growth within it. We talked about NFTs and such like, and how that was able to gain traction so quickly. With the fear of regulation coming in there and sort of strangling that innovation, is that a real fear, or is this something there where the scale and I guess the ability to morph of tech in the space allows that to continue to grow at the pace it has been?
Regulators are very keen not to stifle the innovation. They're also very aware that they have over-centralized because of the use of database technology. it's very easy to point at somebody and say, you're in charge, you must conform. And those centralized actors are very important to the regulator, be it the bank or the stock exchange. They have someone to go and enforce the rulebook on. What they're now discovering is actually people can build systems which don't have a central actor, and that's confounding the regulators as they try and work out how best to serve their stakeholders, which are the retail investor. How do they make sure that the markets operate and continue to operate efficiently and effectively? And that is what the regulator is there for. So from the regulator's perspective, this is a challenge, and they are trying to balance off ensuring that the rulebook is implemented, which is what they should be doing and what everyone should be conforming to. But on the other side, they don't want to stifle the innovation because from their perspective, the innovation might bring easier ways of regulating.
The future's bright. We've got an exciting 2022 ahead of us.
That's pretty much it.
So listen, there's you've spoken about some of the cool things you're doing, and there's a lot of opportunities within that. Tell me, people listening to this, who are the sort of people who should be reaching out to them? How are you going to help them, and how do they get in touch with you?
So from our perspective, as I say, we talk to startups who are looking at using digital assets, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, and they need to get to market quickly. You can come to our website at DASL.io, DASL.io, or actually we've got other clients who are incumbent. They've already got an established business, usually a financial services firm. They're regulated, and they can see the fusion of traditional securities market and the digital assets that are driving the capital markets over the next decade, and they want to reach out and they want to start their journey. And again, you can reach out to us at the same website, DASL.io, and we're more than welcome to talk to you.
Superb. Listen, let's finish on DASL. We've established in this exciting space. You've had a hell of a journey so far, and an exciting one in a short space of time. Whet the appetite. What's next for you? What's exciting that's coming up over the next 18 months or so?
So for me, the biggest innovation that we're seeing is in the AMM space. So this is an automated market maker. Difference between OTC trading at one end, where you've got a broker simply providing price, is a mainstay of the financial system, and on the other end is the exchanges who are running an order book, and again are a mainstay of the financial system. In the middle is a new concept of automated market making, which is providing a new price discovery mechanism over slow or thin instruments, and I think that for me has been the innovation of this year. I recognise it's been around for a while, but that's the one thing that has come mainstream this year, and that for us will be something that we'll see coming through over the next year.
Fantastic. And give me one hope for next year. What's the sort of big hope for you in 2022?
Certainly, from our perspective, we'd like to carry on seeing convergence on the tech side, and in actual fact, I'd like to get to a position where we're not talking about the Ethereums or the Cordas or the Hyperledgers. In actual fact, we're not really talking about blockchain anymore. Similar to when we learn how to buy a book over the internet, we stopped talking about TCP, IP, and no different to when we worked out we could pick up our phone and it told us where we are on the surface of the planet. Nobody cares about how GPS actually works, and the same is true of blockchain. My hope is that come this time next year, we're not really having a conversation about blockchain anymore. We're having a conversation about digital assets and digital securities.
All right, Steve. Lovely. One last thing to finish on. That you've been on a journey from corporate to startup and making a good journey of that. If there's one bit of advice you can give to someone who's on a similar sort of trajectory, or someone who's going through those early phases of a business, what would that bit of advice be?
So as you come out of corporate life, you will undoubtedly trade an equal amount of frustration with working in a large corporation for the anxiety, or equal amount of anxiety of payroll and cash flow. There's no doubt that you will discover that you've made a trade in that regard. What we tend to find, certainly when talking to people that are coming out into this space, and having been a poacher turned gamekeeper in this regard, be aware that it's a 2-year sales cycle to sell a piece of software to a large brand. And you're attracted to the large brand because if you have the large brand on your website, you're kind of made. It takes 2 years to sell in. So you better have enough cash runway to be able to make that sell. Recognize that at any point during those 2 years, someone, the person you're talking to, could roll off, and then you'll restart the sales cycle again. And therefore, it's and executives, tend to have an average life inside a corporate of 3 years. So it is likely that you will reset your sales cycle once more. But the lining, or the silver lining to that woeful tale is that actually, as one of my great bosses pointed out to me, once they're inside the bank and once they have been established, it would take us 10 years to get rid of them, even if we started on the day one. So it is a worthy prize to go after, but you have to recognize how long it takes to achieve it.
I'm so glad you said that, because I see it as the downfall of so many different businesses. You've got great ideas that fail to actually be, to have the runway and the foresight to recognise that sort of complaint of procurement. There's a lot of people who sit there and say, the banks are this, that, and the other. You can't change it. It's a procurement process that's going to be there. It's maybe sped up a little bit and been improved a little bit, I think, over the last 18 months or so in particular, but it's still the bugbear of many companies. But if you're there and you're thinking about that, you look at the sponsors in that, have multiple sponsors within that organisation, have all your due diligence in place and put all the best process in place to understand that, which is the, I guess the benefit of the poacher turned gamekeeper. To plan for that properly is something there which I think I'd absolutely echo is a fantastic thing for anyone who's listening to take away from this, and a great way to end the show. Richard, it's been an absolute pleasure. Really excited about what you're doing. I do think it's an incredible space, and fair play to you for recognising that, running at it, and doing some immediate action and impact onto it. Thanks so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate talking to you.
Toby, it's been a pleasure. Look forward to coming back again.
Likewise, and thank you all for watching. We will see you soon on another episode of Fintech Focus TV. Thanks so much.